Today, let's talk about defense. The best racket is the one that suits you. There's no good or bad, but you must be able to control it during a match. Many players train well, but in a real match, they find some rackets are just uncontrollable. They are simply too bouncy. You end up getting frustrated, forced back from the table, because the racket is too powerful and grips the ball too much. In professional training, half the time is spent attacking, and half is spent defending. For example, first I loop and you defend, then you loop and I defend. Then I play fast rallies and you defend, and vice versa. We always switch roles. I serve and attack, you defend, you serve and attack, I defend. Half the training time is dedicated to offense, and the other half to defense. So for amateur players, if your defense is solid, reaching a rating of 1,800 or 1,900 shouldn't be a problem. Absolutely, no problem at all. But if your defense is weak, it will be a long process to reach that level. First, let's have Shui loop, and I'll demonstrate a forehand defense. Watch for the key characteristics of my defense. Now let's look at the backhand. I love defending because it's less tiring. First, let's teach you how to defend more comfortably when your partner is looping. The first key point, your contact point is too far back. Don't try to defend from behind your body. This position makes you vulnerable to powerful shots. They'll hit right through you. So, the key is to keep your racket in front of your body to defend. This applies to both forehand and backhand. You can even place your racket slightly inside the table line. See? By keeping it inside the table line, you can block the shot effectively. The earlier you take the ball, the easier it is to defend. So, always try to make your contact point slightly forward and your timing a little earlier. When your rhythm is good, your partner feels comfortable. And this training habit will naturally lead to a strong defense in matches. For instance, when he loops a backspin ball, if you use this early contact point, your return will be very threatening. I used almost no power. But if your contact point is late, this is what happens. The ball will go long. You get jammed and can't control the heavy topspin. Think of it this way, an early contact point faces 20% of the spin. Contacting beside your body is 50%. Behind your body is 80%. The spin intensifies, making it impossible to control. You definitely can't control it. The earlier the timing, the easier it is to keep the ball down. Watch this, the earlier you meet the ball, the better you can control it. This is a very important and useful tip. For a good defense, your contact point must be early. Catch the ball before the spin fully develops and control it. That's the first point. Second point, notice if I'm using my own power. I'm not, right? Defense is fundamentally not about generating your own power. A common mistake is to actively hit the ball when defending. You're trying too hard to generate force. In my view, the best way to add power in defense is by using your opponent's pace. For example, if he loops with match intensity and I feel it has heavy spin, I'll start with a controlled block. If the quality of my return puts him under pressure or out of position, I'll continue defending with that same soft block. If he drives the next ball harder, then I'll add some quality by engaging my forearm slightly. That's all. Generating power is easy, controlling it is the hardest part for amateurs. This applies to your backhand as well. After a backhand push, many players defend poorly because when they see a slightly higher or slower ball, their first instinct is to try and punch it hard. Instead, you should start with a controlled block. If he can't handle that, then you can add a bit more pace. That's the most you should do. When you're defending, there's hardly any room or time to generate your own power. Your primary goal should always be getting the ball on the table first. If your return puts you in a bad position, first try adjusting the spin, then the speed, then the placement. Power should be your absolute last resort. So for amateur players, especially in a match, you have to play smart. Playing smart means using the right technique for the situation. Add friction against spin, use a compact stroke against speed, move your feet for short balls, and close your racket angle to control loops. So, when your opponent loops, you must accelerate through the contact point. Contact the ball softly, then accelerate forward to control the arc. Generate power in your follow-through, after making contact. When blocking an opponent's loop, don't take a backswing to generate your own power. A backswing will make you late and cause you to miss the timing. Therefore, in defense, your racket must be in front. This applies to both forehand and backhand. Keep the racket forward and accelerate through the contact. When you defend this way, the return is very awkward for the opponent and surprisingly fast. You can also vary the placement. Use this forward acceleration to control the ball's position and quality. Never, ever use a large backswing when defending. It will cause you to get jammed, and any spin from your opponent will make the ball fly off the table. Third point is about reading spin. The faster the ball, the less spin it generally has. Against a fast ball like this, if you treat it as a heavy topspin loop and close your racket too much, the ball will go into the net. Now look at this one, it's slower, seems to float, and has a high arc. This ball has heavy topspin. If the ball is fast and you close your racket angle too much, it will go into the net. This is a common reason why players block loops into the net. Conversely, against that high arc ball, if you think it has no spin and open your racket angle, it will fly long. You'll wonder why it went out even though you didn't hit it hard. So, when he hits a powerful drive at you, should you close your racket angle or open it? Okay, let me demonstrate. Against this kind of direct, powerful drive, first try blocking with an open racket angle. Okay, now let's try with a more closed racket angle. See? A closed angle doesn't work. Because there's no spin, the ball just goes straight down into the net. It might work if you could close the angle and lift upwards. But that's very difficult to time correctly, you'll likely hit it long. Because the ball has very little spin when it reaches your racket, if you close the angle, it just dives down. You don't need to control a high arc. Against that power drive, why am I able to block it back so consistently? It's because I treat my racket like a simple backboard. If he hits with speed, the ball cannot have heavy spin, no one can do both. Even I can't hit a shot that is both extremely fast and spinny. If I want to add more spin, I have to sacrifice some speed and power. At my level, I've never faced anyone who can hit a loop that is both incredibly spinny and powerful. Perhaps a world champion can, but I certainly can't. So for amateur players, if your opponent drives a topspin, a high ball, or loops your push, you must not close your racket angle too much. If you close it too much, you'll block it into the net. I'm sure many of you have wondered why your blocks against topspin go into the net. You must keep your racket angle slightly more open. This defense is so solid, even a net ball can't beat it. So, when your opponent hits a power drive, you can open your racket angle. Now, which of these two shots has more spin, 1 or 2? 1. 2. Correct, number 2 has more spin. When the ball is spinny, remember the 3 arcs of table tennis, you must close your racket angle to control it. A spinny ball will jump upwards off your racket. So, by closing the angle slightly, you prevent it from jumping up, and you'll make the block. It kicks up off your racket. If your angle is too open, it will fly off the table, completely out of control. Therefore, when blocking a spinny loop, you must close your racket angle. Even against a mini loop, you need to close the angle a bit. It doesn't have to be a super high, slow loop for this rule to apply. As soon as you observe your opponent use an accelerating, brushing motion to generate spin at contact, you must close your racket angle. Even if the ball's trajectory is low, it can still be very spinny. You must close the angle. You have to contact the top half of the ball, primarily the upper portion, to control it. You might block a drive successfully, but then if your opponent adds more spin, the ball flies off because you didn't adjust. You didn't adjust. Without making adjustments, you can't become a high-level player. When the ball comes at you with speed, open your racket angle to block. When the ball comes with heavy spin, close your racket angle and contact the upper half of the ball. Against speed, open the angle. Against spin, close the angle. So how do you adjust for balls going long or into the net? Everyone's loop is different. For example, a loop with a lot of arm swing won't be very spinny. For players who often block into the net, first, make sure to follow through. You have to give the ball some forward energy. Don't be timid. When I say follow through, I don't mean take a backswing. I mean accelerate forward from your ready position in front of your body. Second, if the ball isn't very spinny, don't close your racket angle too much. If you do, the lack of spin will cause the ball to dive into the net. Back when Zhu Yuling was my junior teammate, her specialty was deceptive loops. She could use the same motion to produce a spinny or a no-spin ball. Sometimes I'd prepare for spin and block it right into the net. In that situation, first, a more vertical racket face gives you a larger contact area. Second, you must commit to pushing your arm forward. This will give you confidence. Now for the second problem, blocking the ball long. The first and most crucial point is to make sure your racket angle is more closed than open. Second, your motion must be very compact. Even with a closed angle, a large swing will still send the ball long because the topspin will make it kick off your racket. So, you need a very short, crisp motion. Keep the movement minimal. Keep the motion small, just enough to make contact. Make contact on the upper middle portion of the ball. The more you try to hit it, the more likely it is to go long. Join our membership to unlock daily exclusive shorts and discover the coach's secret tips and tricks on table tennis technique. You'll also get our weekly on-court coaching series. Silver members get even more and also unlock the exclusive weekly Coach's Corner series. Thank you for supporting the channel's growth.